Dakota, hello. Has it been 3 years already? Wow, time really does fly when you're having a good time. You went and blocked me after the last time we chatted, so I went and got myself a brand new phone number to text you with. What? Gracie? Huh? Why are you reacting to me texting you after such a long time like that? You think you, of all people, have the right to be asking me what my reaction was just then, after everything you did? What are you talking about? I'm talking about how you stole my husband from me and made us get a divorce. Oh, that did happen, didn't it? At the time, you were married to Jeff, right? Well, after I went and stole him from you, things became a little bit distant between him and I, so I threw him aside. So we no longer need to talk about that. From now on, I'd like to start my new relationship with a new man. And you need to do the same thing for yourself here soon, Dakota. Right? Honestly, I don't really care what happened between you and Jeff anymore. And right now, the fact that you are texting me again after that event is frickin' vexing. What? Don't you start calling me annoying. Then don't even text me again, please. Goodbye. Wait! I have to tell you about who I'm going out with right now, and that's why I started to text you again. What do you think you're doing, leaving me before I even tell you what I have to say? I don't give a crap about whoever you're with now. Well, what if I told you I'm going out with your current husband now? What was that? My current husband, you say? Look at that. Now you seem to care. I knew you'd never be able to ignore me after saying that. No. Actually, after saying that, you've only gone and started to annoy me some more. Actually, it's been about 6 months now since I went and stole him from you. Your current husband is way more exciting than your first. He is far superior to that Jeff guy, and the way he acts around me is so gentlemanlike. We're just meant for one another. What? I'm single right now, though. Huh? Like I said, I'm single. No boyfriend, no fiancé, no husband. I'm not even having any fun with men right now. Ever since the divorce with Jeff happened, I haven't dated any men at all. There hasn't been anyone I've come to like that way. For the past 3 years, I've been completely free and have my own will again. Yet now you're back talking about how you're with my husband? Who are you even talking about right now? Oh, I see. I get it now. This is all too heartbreaking for you, isn't it? Just because you're feeling your gut tighten up with anxiety, it doesn't mean you can start to lie to me. Right now, I'm in a hotel with your husband, and we are getting it on. I know for a fact that you're lying, and it was all too easy for me to guess that. Hey, Gracie, I'm not joking around. I've seriously not gotten remarried since then. Then tell me, who is this man that I've been having so much fun with and letting do me raw all the time when we come out on these little nightly vacancies? You haven't given me a name or sent me a picture of him, so I have no clue who he is. Oh my God. So this is really devastating for you then, isn't it? And could it also be that since this is your second time losing a husband to me, your brain has become completely fried from the shock? Well, you need to get your memory back somehow, all right? Because it's no fun watching you just sit there saying you have no memory of who your husband is. The whole point of me stealing him from you is to watch you get all upset with me again and talk about wanting to off yourself and such. I think you are mentally screwed, Gracie. But it's just so much fun for me. Especially when watching an old friend like you have a mental breakdown. I'm sure you were aware back in high school and college how I'd go and steal the men you loved, right? Seriously, the fact that you are so mentally screwed is making me want to call the police. I might honestly do that. This whole thing about you saying that man is my husband and all now, and talking about how you're now having sex with him all the time, I think you need some real dang help. Huh? So you're still going to lie to me? I'm just telling you the truth, Gracie. I think you need to find out again who that man you're with is and whose husband he is, because I know 100% that he's not mine. He most likely has nothing to do with me in the first place. I told you already, he is your husband. That's what he keeps telling me. There's no way that I'm making a mistake here. Well, I have no idea who he could be then. And from what I can tell, this conversation is meaningless because you keep forcing it to go on a loop. Bye. Huh? What the heck? I'm going to bust that lying thick skull of yours right open. I'll show you.
Dakota, this is Jeff. Long time no see. I'm only texting you because I have something I'd like to ask. Is that alright?
What? The only reason I haven't already blocked you yet is because you're still working on paying off the settlement I'd asked for 3 years ago. You understand that very clearly, right?
I know. Look, I totally agree that I'm not in the position to be texting you like this. But for my own sake, I have something I wanted to check with you about.
Well then, make it fast.
Thank you. Did you get remarried? No, I totally understand that you don't want someone like me asking you a personal question like that, but this is about Gracie.
Gracie?
Well, I'm not sure why she was doing this in the first place, and if she meant it as a form of messing around with me, but yesterday she had messaged me. She was going on about how she had stolen her husband from you again, and this new man is far better than me. Well, I kind of understood what was wrong with that woman back when she ran away from me, and well, since then I haven't really had any desire to want to talk with her again.
So Gracie is still going on about how she's stolen my supposed husband?
What?
About 3 months ago or so, she was telling me the exact same thing, about how she had stolen my husband. None of it made any sense at all to me, so I just stopped texting her and left it. Were you able to hear from her at all who the man is that she's with and calling my husband?
Yeah. He was working at the same company as me before, and his name is Titus. Though he was never that great of a worker in the company, so I don't ever remember much about him besides his face.
I see. I have no memory of a Titus.
Oh, so this means you haven't gotten remarried yet?
That's right. There is no husband.
And how about thoughts about you and I getting back together?
Shut the hell up, Jeff.
What I thought. Sorry for asking. I won't say anything else.
However, thank you for letting me know about this. I happen to have a friend still working at the company you were at before, so when I have some time, I'll ask them to look into this Titus guy for me.
Well, if there's anything you need help with, let me know. Of course, after what happened 3 years ago, I'm sure you don't want me around.
That's right. But if you hear anything from Gracie, let me know about it.
Sounds good.
Dakota, I've really gone and done it this time. And this time, you can no longer even try getting away with lying about not having a husband right now. That's because your husband got me pregnant. Well, actually, I already knew I was pregnant a little while back. It's been around 6 months now since I first found out, but I wanted to wait until my belly started to get a bit bigger before telling you. At this point, I have no choice but to have the baby for him, and that will force you to have to divorce him, right? Oh my god, life is always filled with the unexpected. At first, I was just planning on taking your husband from you for however long things could last before I got bored, and then toss him aside as well. But this guy is the most amazing man I have ever been with. He has the best features, and his face is perfect for me. And above all that, me getting married to the man I stole from you would be a good send-off before your trip into a deep depression, right? When he told me that he wanted to marry me so much that he'd make me pregnant with his kid, I was over the moon with joy. From that moment on, he and I have felt even more close to one another. And after a few weeks at a hotel nearby, I became pregnant. Hey, how about you respond to me now? I get that this is all terribly heartbreaking for you, but there's no point in you lying to me anymore about being single. All right? Hurry up and get that divorce for me now. Hey, Dakota, I've seen that you read my text from yesterday. But the fact that you still haven't replied to me tells me there is something wrong with your head. I'm about to have a baby here soon, and you are holding up the process for my man and I. You have to divorce him now. Hi, Gracie. What perfect timing. I was just thinking about getting back to you. Well, so you're finally going to agree to divorce your husband for me? No, because like I've said plenty of times now, I'm single. Huh? You are still trying to fight me on this? Just stop talking for a second, all right? I have something I need to check with you about now, Gracie, and it is very, very important. What? Gracie, have you ever been stalked by someone before? What? Stalked by someone? I'm talking about the time between you leaving Jeff and now. Yes. There have been a few times now, actually. But after I went and gave him a little action, he left me alone for good. What? You and that stalker? I've done things like that before in the past to get men to leave me alone, so I did the same thing with him, and after he was happy, he left me alone. That's right. This last time, he was a total turnoff. His looks were awful, and that face was like that of an alien. Yet he still thought he could get with me. Well, I knew that as long as I pleased him that one time, he'd leave me alone forever. So I slept with him for 2 hours that day. But I do have to say, that did leave me with a little bit of trauma. I told myself that once I had finished up with that stalker, I would never ever do anything with an ugly man again. Did you get the name of that stalker or any other identification? We were only together one time, so I had no reason to ask for his name. Then, what would happen if that man you called ugly back then went and got plastic surgery and then showed back up in your face again? What? Plastic surgery? And what if he told you he wanted to have a serious relationship now? Wanted to marry you and everything? What? I would never bother with him. Naturally, he's ugly, so no matter what he does to change his appearance, I would never want to have a relationship. By the way, why are we talking about this right now? I see. So you still don't get it then, do you? That's why I'm wondering what's going on here. That whole story with that stalker is over now, and I fixed the problem I had. No, you didn't. You might think you fixed that problem. But while you've been completely oblivious to it, that man has been moving along with a very dark plan that he made up. What are you talking about? What dark plan? That stalker of yours that I just mentioned, the one that got plastic surgery and everything? Well, he got you to think that he was married to me, and his name is Titus. Huh? You know how Jeff and Titus used to work together back at Jeff's old company? Well, I happen to have a friend still working at that company, and so they went and talked with Titus about a few things while out drinking. The reason he first started to stalk you was because back in the day you were waiting for Jeff outside the office, and Titus saw you and immediately fell in love. What? After that, he learned about how you and Jeff broke up, and that's what turned him into your stalker. And after some time, you went and had that 2-hour pleasure time with him, and that only strengthened his desire for you further. So in order to become the man you dreamed of having, he went online and started searching for all the men you follow on social media, as well as learned about how you had always been stealing my significant others away from me. He changed his face to match the faces of those men you liked so much, and changed his backstory to sound like he had become my next husband. This then led to you falling for him immediately, and he then was able to get you pregnant with his kid. And now, here we are. What? What if I told you that everything you've been a part of with that man has all been part of your stalker's plan? What? In order to go through all that plastic surgery, Titus used up all of his savings. And then in order to take you out to those hotels all the time, he started to borrow money. So he's in debt? And don't forget that he went and changed his whole appearance for you, so everyone at the office talks about what happened to him all the time. He went and got rid of his former self, all in order to force his way into your life. You should be more accepting of his strong desire to be with you over any other woman on this planet. No! How could I ever marry an ugly man like that? How could I ever be able to give birth to that ugly man's child? No! This is what you wanted. I didn't know all of that happened, though. Help me, Dakota. Why should I? Because he's your husband! That's right. He is my husband, isn't he? Just like how the sun is the color pink, and how rocks are mammals. Let me come hide at your place. I'm coming to your house right now. If you're talking about my parents' house, that place is no longer standing. It was demolished years ago, and there's a new house there. Huh? It's not there anymore? My older brother and his wife took that land and built their new house on it, so I moved out of town and am living somewhere completely different. So don't even bother with me, Gracie. What? And if you'd like to know, your parents' house is also gone now. Huh? Because of what you did 3 years ago, your parents both disowned you, right? They couldn't risk you trying to come back to them after that, and so they both decided to sell their house and move away from here for good. I'm not sure where they moved to, though. I'm sure you could go out and try looking for them, but that would be a hard thing to do when you're going to have a baby soon and a husband. No way! Then, what am I supposed to do? There's only one thing left you can do. What is that? Marry Titus and become his childbearing wife, right? What? Your last name would be Dingerfell, right? Gracie Dingerfell. That sounds pretty great to me. No! Help me, Dakota! There's nothing I can do for you. Nothing I'd want to do for you, to be honest. No! Goodbye forever, Gracie. I know that I told her I couldn't do anything for her, but I had actually gotten Gracie's mother's phone number a while back. And she had just texted me asking how Gracie was doing since we started talking again, and I told her her daughter was just fine. In the end, Gracie got married to Titus, although they didn't have a wedding for their marriage or anything like that, because Titus didn't have any money left and Gracie was going into labor. And so right after their visit to the courthouse to get married, she gave birth to their baby. Gracie was not a fan of her baby because the moment it came out of her, she could see that it resembled the natural version of Titus, which she called ugly. But there was nothing she could do about her baby at that point, so she just began bawling her eyes out over her new life, which had just begun. And because Gracie no longer had a single person to rely on for help, she was forced to work with Titus's family, who were all monsters of their own. Apparently his mother was also looking forward to having a daughter-in-law, all with the hopes of making them her slave. And so, after having her baby, Gracie was subjected to a lot of terrible moments with her mother-in-law, which started with her having to move in with Titus's parents because, once again, they didn't have any money to go anywhere otherwise. Titus's mother also blamed Gracie for him getting into debt and forced her to start working in order to pay his debt off for him. And not too long after all that started, Titus's mother told them she didn't want a grandchild anymore. And so she had Gracie's parents come and take that baby away. And, well, Titus was totally okay with her decision to do that with his baby, and even told Gracie that it was the right decision, because he couldn't handle all the baby's crying. By this point, though, Gracie was already pretty much dead inside, so losing her own baby to her parents, who both cut ties to her, didn't even faze her. Well, that's at least what everyone thinks when looking into her now soulless eyes. Anyway, that baby hasn't done anything wrong to deserve to grow up in a terrible household such as that, so I'm completely fine with the outcome there. And that means I can finally relax and forget about Gracie for good.
Hey, Agatha. It's been a really long time. It's me, Charlotte.
What? Charlotte? Is that really you? My goodness, how many years has it been? I haven't heard from you at all since you left the orphanage and got married. You never even came back to see me. You had me worried. How are you?
I'm okay. Well, actually, I'm not okay at all.
Why not? What's wrong?
Listen, Agatha, the thing is, I got kicked out of the house.
What? Kicked out?
I'm at the police station near the train station right now. They're letting me use one of their phone chargers. I was so desperate to contact you. I feel so embarrassed having to ask you this. But can I come back to the orphanage? I have nowhere to go after being kicked out. There's nowhere else I can stay and no one else I can turn to. I don't even know where I'm gonna sleep tonight.
Oh, Charlotte, you poor thing. Of course you can. I'll have someone come out to pick you up immediately. Just stay where you are, okay?
Thank you so much.
What exactly do you mean when you say you got kicked out? This is all such a shock. Were things not going well at home? What the devil happened?
My husband Dexter and his parents used to be so unbelievably kind to me. I felt like the luckiest girl in the world to have such wonderful people in my life. Until we got married. When we did, he asked me to quit my job so I could stay at home and support him. It didn't sound so bad at the time, but he asked me to move in with him and his parents, and that was when everything changed. All of a sudden, his mom and dad, who up until then had been the kindest people I'd ever met, started treating me like dirt. It was like living with demons. They said I was obliged to be their family servant because they, to quote them, gave my miserable life meaning by adopting me. They forced me to work like a dog every single day, from 3 a.m. in the morning to 12 midnight. I wasn't even allowed to take a break to sit down. All of my clothes and personal belongings from before I got married were either sold or thrown away. For no reason, I'd be ordered to get on my knees in front of them all of a sudden, and they'd all take turns yelling at me. If there was ever something they didn't like, they'd just throw away my food or personal belongings. If I ever complained, they'd yell at how I should just be grateful I'm not an orphan anymore.
Oh my God, Charlotte!
Today, Dexter brought home some young girl. What use are you if you can't even have kids? You're an abject failure, you barren wasteland of a woman. You had a duty to provide me with sons, how dare you? You ungrateful witch. We should have just left you in an orphanage. These were just some of the things he yelled at me in front of his new girlfriend. When he was done making me feel like I wanted to curl up and die, he told me they were getting married and ordered me to leave. He basically kicked me out with nothing but the clothes on my back. I lost 10 kilograms due to stress since I moved in with him. He rejected me every time I tried to go near him. I can't even look at you as a woman, you're hideous, was his usual reaction.
Oh my God! I can't believe you went through all this. As if bullying and emotionally abusing you wasn't enough, he cheated on you as well? No way! Was the reason I didn't hear from you since you got married because they confiscated your cell phone?
No, ironically, my cell phone was the only thing I did keep. I hid it because I didn't want them to sell that too. You gave it to me as a present when I left the orphanage, and it was the only thing I had that reminded me of you. There was no way I was going to let them take it from me. I didn't have a charger, though. The reason I couldn't contact you all this time was because my battery was dead. The first thing I did after he booted me out was to look for somewhere I could charge my phone. So that's how I'm able to message you now.
Oh God, what have they done to you, Charlotte? He will not get away with this.
I'm so sorry to trouble you like this. Ugh, it's so embarrassing to have to rely on you like this, despite being in my 20s now. Even if it's just until I can find a new job and somewhere to live. Please, can I live at the orphanage again for a little while? I'll do chores, odd jobs, help look after the younger children, anything.
Don't be so silly. You don't have anything to apologize for. I'll always see you as my own daughter, and you'll always be welcome at the orphanage. If you want to come home, you can come home whenever you want to. What kind of mother would I be if I said anything otherwise?
Agatha.
Whether you find yourself to live or not, you can stay for as many months, or as many years as you like. This orphanage is your home. I'm an old dear, well into my 70s now, so it's probably more appropriate to call me your grandma than your mom. But I'll always be here for you, Charlotte. Never forget that.
Thank you so much.
I'll run you a nice hot bath and cook you some meatloaf and apple pie and custard. You only have one job when you get here, and that's to relax, unwind, and forget about all the horrible stuff you've been through. Leave the rest to me. Good evening, Dexter. It's been a while. This is Agatha, the head mistress of the orphanage Charlotte grew up in. She just contacted me in great distress. It seems like we have some things to discuss. She told me everything about how you and your parents have been treating her like less than human, like your own personal slave since the moment you got married. On top of that, you cheated on her, brought your lover home and kicked Charlotte out on the streets, didn't you? Tell me, did you ever think you were going to get away with such despicable behavior? It's obvious you've seen my messages. I can see the red marks, you know. If you can muster up the courage, you're free to respond at any time.
Shut your mouth, you old hag! I don't know a frickin' thing about any of this crap. That psycho is just fantasizing. She's crazy, I tell you.
You only have to look at her to see it's all true. She's emaciated and has huge bags under her eyes. She's in a constant state of anxiety and fear. All it takes is a door opening to make her jump out of her skin. How does that happen to a girl who was once so fit and healthy, so outgoing, vibrant, and bubbly? She was a picture of health when she left the orphanage. She barely weighs 40 kilograms now. Her clothes were all tattered and worn out, and she hardly even had any personal belongings.
Like I told you, I don't know nothing about any of this. Anyway, even if I did do something to her, she was a miserable orphan and me and my folks were kind enough to adopt her. Which means we can treat her however we goddamn want to.
Excuse me? Are you being serious right now?
Besides, what the heck does it have to do with you? You ain't Charlotte's mom, you ain't her gran. You're just some wrinkled-up old hag sat on a high horse who thinks she can scare me. Something bad might happen if you don't learn to stay out of other people's business. You catch my drift, lady?
I'm very disappointed in you, Dexter. You seemed so sweet and kind when you came to introduce yourself before the wedding. I'm actually disappointed myself for not seeing right through you. As Charlotte's guardian, I have a duty to make you pay for what you've done, and pay you will. Are you prepared for the hell that's coming your way?
Oh, I'm quaking in my boots! What's some wrinkled-up old hag gonna do to me? You gonna chase me on your Zimmer frame? Write me a sternly worded letter? If you want to do this, then let's do this! You want to get taken down, lady?
Great, it's settled then. I'll make sure you remember what you just said to me.
Hey, Charlotte! What the hell did that old hag do? You got any idea how much trouble you're in, girl? You just goddamn wait! Answer me! I know you're looking.
Good morning, Dexter. This is the old hag. What can I do for you?
I ain't interested in talking to you, hag! Put me on to Charlotte now!
Charlotte's been looking after the children right now. But even if she wasn't busy, I wouldn't let you speak to her in a million years. What do you want? Make it quick. You seem to be in quite the panic. Anyone would think you received a court summons or something.
Aha! I knew it was you! You're gonna pay for this, mark my words, hag! The heck are you two trying to pull? You're dragging me into court like some criminal! On what charges? I ain't done nothing!
It was patently obvious Charlotte was going to take you to court after the way you behaved. You've been summoned to take part in the divorce mediation on countless occasions by now. But you ignored the call every single time. You didn't show up to even a single meeting, did you? As a result, the mediation ended in failure, which means she had no choice but to take you to divorce court. Anyone could have seen this coming. If you'd have just come to the meetings, none of this would have been happening.
Oh, don't come at me with this legal jargon thinking you're all clever. I ain't playing your silly games, hag! Why the hell should I have to go out of my way to go to court to deal with some miserable orphan's emotional issues? I ain't no shrink! If you got business with me, then you come to me. I'm a busy guy. You get me?
Oh dear, you seem to be suffering from a severe deficient intelligence. You don't have to come if you don't want to, you know, if your time's so valuable and you really can't make it. Don't you worry yourself one bit. All that means is that you'll owe Charlotte $60,000 in compensation.
You what?
As a rule, if you don't show up to the trial, you lose the case by default, which means that you're obligated to pay the full amount of the claimant's requested compensation without even getting the chance to defend yourself. Let's face it, though, even if you did show up to try and defend yourself, you still wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
What? Why not?
It just so happens that one of the children I raised in this orphanage is now a very successful lawyer. His area of expertise also just so happens to be divorce law. All it would take is one phone call. I do hate the idea of causing him a nuisance, but I get the feeling he'd drop everything if he had to help me in my time of need. Thinking about everything you did to her, harassment, bullying, cheating, stealing, as well as all the rest, this clearly isn't a fight you can win.
Whatever! This crap just ain't gonna stand up, it ain't got no legs! Harassment, cheating? I ain't got the foggiest idea what you're talking about. I ain't that kind of guy. If you ain't got proof, then you're nothing but a doof.
Well, now that you mention it, I also just so happen to have a friend who runs a private investigation agency. One phone call was all it took. I have enough proof to take you to court 10 times over. To give some specific examples, how about bringing your lover back home to flaunt her in front of your wife, despite the fact you're still very much married? It seems like you're known as quite the womanizing sleazeball around the neighborhood, too. I heard some very interesting stories. Not just the cheating either. Surprisingly, they even knew about the abuse, too. Do you ever get the feelings your neighbors avoid you?
Huh?
Another one of the girls who grew up in the orphanage became a doctor. Charlotte went in for an examination at her practice and provided me with documentation on all of the physical damage you've caused her, all permissible as evidence in court. Do you understand now? We're certainly not going to struggle proving anything. Nothing you could possibly say will get you out of the 200-meter hole you dug yourself into.
You're lying! Ain't no way any of this is true. You expect me to believe a miserable orphan like her can afford to hire lawyers and private investigators? Oh, don't make me laugh. She ain't got the money to take me down.
It's true. You and your parents did steal all of her money and leave her with nothing. Which is why I'm paying for everything.
You're doing what? Why the heck are you gonna use good money on some waste of space with no parents? She ain't even blood to you. You gotta be kidding me. Ain't no one that stupid.
Whether we're related by blood or not means nothing to me. I raised her as if she was my own daughter. She's my family and I love her. What other reason do I need than that she's family? There's nothing I wouldn't do to protect her.
God freaking damn it, alright fine. You win, I'll apologize. She can have all her stuff back. I'll even give her some money to show I'm sorry, alright? We'll be square then, won't we?
Do you seriously think you're getting off that lightly? Don't be so ridiculous. If we're going to do this, and we are going to do this, then we're going to do it properly. No one lays their hands on my daughter and gets away with it. You're going to regret being born when I'm finished with you, boy. Surely you knew this would happen when you decided to victimize and abuse my Charlotte. Surely you weren't stupid enough to believe there'd be no consequences.
What? You threatening me?
I might not look much, but believe it or not, I used to be the CEO of a major company. My son took over when I retired, and he's running the show these days. I still talk to him regularly when he needs help with management-related things. I'm kind of like his personal advisor.
So what? You think I care about some crappy company?
Did you know that crabby company is your company's biggest client?
Say what?
I made a few recommendations to my son at the time you two got married, after I found out you worked in the same industry as us. As a result, he turned down some very generous offers from other companies in favor of establishing a major trading contract with yours. At the time, I thought I was doing a good thing by making a gesture towards my son-in-law, but clearly I made a mistake. I think it's time my son terminated the contract. It's not like it was ever a particularly profitable contract for us, and to be honest, I regret allowing my personal affairs to get mixed up with my professional life.
Wait, what? What?
Don't get too excited yet, I'm not finished. Next, there's the company your dad works at. Another one of the boys who grew up in my orphanage happens to be the CEO of his company's parent company. Well, I say boy, but he's 50 now.
No, wait! You get after my freaking dad now? No, wait, you can't!
Oh, one more thing. You and your parents rent your house, don't you? You're not going to believe this. The coincidences are almost piling up too high now. But I also happen to be friends with a major real estate magnate. And you'll never guess whose house he owns. Yep, I could even make the phone call this evening. Which angle do you think we should go for? Refusal to renew? Mandatory eviction? Can you imagine if I made phone calls to all of my friends about you? Can you imagine how far you'd fall? I'm thinking you hit rock bottom before you even realized what was going on.
Oh my god, don't! Don't, please!
Let me spell it out. If I do decide to take revenge on you, you will lose all that you hold dear. You'll be lucky if you even get to keep the clothes on your back. Your blood will run cold with terror and you will be plunged into the depths of despair, hopelessness, and suffering. Doesn't that sound nice?
Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I mean it!
Don't you think you're apologizing to the wrong person? And by text, really? Don't you think it'd be more appropriate to get yourself down here and beg for forgiveness on your hands and knees?
Yeah, you're right. I'm so sorry. I promise I ain't ever gonna do anything like this again. I never thought it would come to this.
Your luck ran out when you made the fatal error of taking me for some harmless old woman. I'm not trying to brag, but I have friends in high places. Exterminating a wretched little worm like you would be child's play.
I'm so sorry, really. I'm so sorry. Please don't do it.
We'll be continuing this conversation in court through our lawyers. Goodbye. Immediately after that, Dexter and his parents rushed down to the orphanage in an attempt to apologize for their behavior. But the time for apologies has passed, and they were delusional to think otherwise. I told them they could apologize in court and sent them on their way. They would accept it and sat down on the floor outside the orphanage like petulant children, leaving me with no choice but to call the police. They quickly stood up and hightailed it out of there when they realized who I was on the phone, too. Obviously, Charlotte won the trial. Dexter and his lover were ordered to pay a combined total of $75,000 in compensation. In order to come with the money, he and his parents were forced to move out of the house and sell all of their personal belongings. To add insult to injury, his lover, furious about being dragged into such a catastrophic situation, broke up with him no sooner than the trial was over. Now, last I heard, Dexter and his parents are living in an apartment so cramped and tiny they're like rats huddled together in a cage. Between his company losing their biggest trading partner as a result of a few choice words of advice to my son, and his reputation as an abusive scumbag circulating around the office, his work life is now a living hell. I was astonished he didn't get fired, but in a way, this is actually more satisfying. He deserves everything he gets, so I can't say I feel bad for him. Charlotte's gradually returning to her old, vibrant, bubbly self while living at the orphanage. She's helping me out by looking after the children and doing various odd jobs while recuperating. Here's to the start of Charlotte's new life. She deserves to be happy.